Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm a master's student here at QUT and I undertake research in astrophysics. To put simply, my research involves studying how galaxies evolve over cosmic time, as well as a little bit of black hole stuff. I think the most favorite part about my research is that you're doing something that that no one else has done before. So I had a mixture of influences that inspired me to go into physics. I've always felt I've been naturally curious. I never took things at face value. I always questioned what I saw. When I was young, I recall wondering things like, how do planes fly? How do magnets work? What happens when a substance dissolves in water? What is electricity? And I really began to pursue this curiosity in the early years of high school, thanks to a particularly passionate science teacher. I loved her enthusiasm and eagerness to share the laws and theories that helped explain how our world functions. Everyone thinks we go out into the middle of nowhere and we look through the telescopes and we make some observations and we go home. But what we do as astrophysicists is we analyze the data that's collected from those telescopes, and this is where our coding comes into it. The galaxy server that I work with has around 60,000 galaxies in it. I've seen even larger ones. Some have 500,000 to 1 million galaxies in them. So as you can expect, we can't use sort of generic programs like Excel to work through the data. We do a lot of statistics, especially this type of data that I use. There's a lot of bias associated with it just because it's really distant. Galaxies become fainter. So for example, we're biased towards a lot more star-forming galaxies and not sort of dead, faint galaxies. So we learn how to work within our bias that we have, and we learn how to appropriately analyze the data we have again, which is why we can go and work as data scientists in the industry. I think definitely in year 11 and 12 of high school, you need to be looking at the science, the mathematical subjects. So definitely taking the higher levels of maths, it would be beneficial. And of course, undertaking physics, is a big thing. But even chemistry as well is actually quite helpful, especially if you want to go into astronomy or astrophysics, where we're dealing with elements and seeing how stars fuse elements together, and which basically keeps them from dying. What I would also recommend though is doing an IT subject. Learn your code, even if you're not going into astronomy. Coding is such an important part of a physicist, and all physicists should learn how to code, definitely. I would say, like anyone can go into physics, anybody can go into science. What matters is that they are ambitious and they're passionate about it and they find it enthralling. And as long as they have that passion and that ambition, then they can do science.